There was one thing over at or during the State of the Union speech that really stuck out to me. And just as Donald Trump started off his State of the Union by talking about the border invasion, so too should Joe Biden have probably avoided talking about it. It's not something that in any way he could possibly defend. Okay, his border policy, the Biden-Harris regime's border is open, period. I posted an article over at discernreport.com detailing not just what I thought, but what other people thought about this one particular part where, well, he's says what he says, and it's pretty idiotic. I titled it, "The Most Infuriating Part of Benedict Biden's SOTU Speech Relies on Americans Being Stupid." And that's really what it comes down to, okay? If you hear Joe Biden say anything about the border, anything other than, hey, we failed miserably, we're continuing to fail miserably, we've got to do something about it, and we're going to have to ask Republicans to help us because Democrats have no idea what to do with the border other than to open it up and let our nation be destroyed, let our sovereignty be stolen. If he had said anything other than that, then he would be an idiot. Or perhaps more accurately, he would think that we are idiots, that you and I are absolute morons, because we'd have to be stupid to think otherwise, to think that this in any way has anything to do with Trump or Republicans or anything conservative at all. Their anti-American border policies are destroying this nation. As I posted in my article, the border crisis is 100% Joe Biden's fault. You can argue that congressional Democrats have a hand in it. You can point to feckless policies by governments in border states. But at the end of the day, the reason that we are experiencing the worst invasion of illegal aliens that our country has ever seen is because the Biden-Harris regime has opened the borders, period. They can claim they haven't. They would be lying if they did. Every aspect of their border policy encourages illegal aliens to cross. Everything they've done to remove border security has worsened the flow of drugs and other illegal merchandise. They have harmed this nation immeasurably, all the while putting innocent children in danger as they're raped and trafficked through their dangerous journey to the border. Knowing all this, here's how Biden framed the border situation during his Tuesday night speech. Let's listen to Joe.
Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. Big, you got it. So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production and the sale and traffic.
Oh, I'm glad that the feckless GOP at least had the gonads to speak out. Back to my article. Republicans were right to object to his feckless statements. They needed those who were watching the SOTU, which was far fewer than one might expect, to hear their objections to his gaslighting attempt. For Biden or anyone in his administration to even mention the border without begging for forgiveness is beyond disingenuous. It's a statement of contempt towards Americans. For anyone to hear anything about the border, whether it's about the massive influx of illegal aliens or the child-killing fentanyl flooding across, and to not blame the Biden-Harris regime completely is to declare their stupidity. Only the indoctrinated partisans or legitimately unintelligent people could see what's happening and not come to the undeniable conclusion that this is Biden's fault. And then I linked to, and I talked about, I linked to this article over at dailysignal.com titled "Fact Check Biden Touts Success at Southern Border During State of the Union Speech." Let's just read part of that. And you can, again, find this over at discernreport.com. Joe Biden touted his policies at the southern border Tuesday night during his second State of the Union address. And there's a quote. He said, "We now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers and seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reports that it seized just over 14,000 pounds of fentanyl in fiscal year 2022, which ended September 30th, and more than 7,000 pounds between October and the end of December. In February, CBP reported a large drug seizure in the San Diego sector, including blue pills that contained fentanyl with a total weight of 250 pounds with an estimated street value of $3.4 million. Sounds great, right? Except under President Donald Trump in fiscal year 2018, Customs and Border Protection reportedly seized 2,135 pounds of fentanyl, and in 2020, it seized nearly 5,000 pounds of the lethal drug. Most illicit fentanyl today is manufactured in Mexico and brought across our southern border, yada, yada, yada. I want to get to this. You can read the rest of the story if you'd like. I'd like to get to this this discussion by Ron Vidiello. He's a former acting ICE director. Let's see what he has to say.
What is morale like among ICE agents and among Border Patrol? They're often a little bit hesitant to speak out when they're active and currently in their positions, but have you kept in touch with any of the folks that are currently working in those fields, and how are they doing as we've seen these record numbers of illegal aliens crossing the border?
Well, it's very frustrating for them, right? Imagine coming to work and your job is to take care of 1,000 people. They all want your attention in some way, what we call booking in, what Border Patrol calls processing. That's your mission for the day. So you start the day off with 1,000 people waiting for your attention. You work all day, you work a 10-hour day, and you get through as many as you can, and you come back the next day and there's 2,000 people waiting. So that is a very frustrating condition. And people are hired into the Border Patrol because they have a bias for action. They want to patrol the border, they want to find bad guys, they want to make drug seizures, they want to save people who are being trafficked. But now they're stuck having to care for this large numbers of people that are coming every 24 hours. And so morale's low, and you don't have to take my word for it. We had more retirements last year and more resigned from the Border Patrol last year than in any time in the history of the organization. So it is very frustrating. And there's also an acute mental health crisis going on within that workforce. Suicides are way off the charts. That is a direct result of the stresses that they face. The job is difficult and risky and dangerous all the time. When you add this frustration on top of that, where they know that this is a self-inflicted crisis that we could get ourselves out of, and they know no one's trying to help them.
Yes. This is definitely a self-inflicted crisis. You know, it's easy for me to sit here and tell you guys that, oh, the border's bad and we should focus on that, and we should. I don't want to pretend like it's not important. But here's the thing, and we cannot forget this. The border is not just about our safety. It's not just about keeping jobs. It's not just about the economy. It's not just about the risks of even fentanyl or anything like that. The border represents our sovereignty as a nation, and when we abandon that, as the Biden-Harris regime has, when we say, hey, we're not really going to prevent anybody from coming into our nation, and if they can get here one way or the other, then they're probably going to get to stay. If we can keep that message up, then we are announcing that we're no longer a sovereign nation. You might say, how could that possibly be? But this is the push. What is it? What is the push here from a globalist elite cabal perspective? They want open borders across the board, not just here in the United States. And if we lead the way, this isn't just about the United States of America losing its sovereignty. This is about the world falling into the grips of this globalist elite cabal. The one world order, the new world order, the liberal world order, whatever you want to call it, they need the United States to have open borders in order for them to be able to achieve their nefarious goals. So let's keep that in mind. So let's be honest, the vast majority of long-term storage, survival food, prepper food, is just awful. I mean, it just tastes really, really bad. And that's why they expect us to eat during the apocalypse. Well, if the crap hits the fan, I'm going to actually be eating good food. I go to lateprepper.com, a website that I built based upon two partnerships, the two companies that produce actually really good food. No need to set up a bulk discount. Doesn't matter whether you buy 1 or 10. There's no hidden fees here. As a matter of fact, we charge the same price that the source companies charge. The difference is we actually have exclusive discounts. Use promo code PREP2023 for 10% off, or for you big spenders, use code PREP2030 for 15% off on orders of $777 or more. Go to lateprepper.com and eat well for the apocalypse.